Action on the high seas brings with it tales of adventure, the boarding of ships, and the conquest of nations. For those seeking a simple game with plenty of color and multiplayer possibilities, Enemy in Sight may be for you. Enemy in Sight is an out-of-print game by Avalon Hill. From 2 to 8 players can engage in combat on the high seas, representing various nations, while sailing the famous ships of the line. To win, a player must be the first to accumulate 100 victory points. You play in rounds, and when the action deck is empty and a player cannot draw more cards, that round ends. The deck is shuffled, and a new round begins if no one has yet to reach 100 victory points. The decks are shuffled, and each player gets 6 ships and 6 action cards. The ship deck is always face up so the next ship can be seen. Each player forms a line with their ships, starting with the lowest value on the left, with the next higher value going to the right until all the ships have been deployed. Your hand capacity for action cards equals the number of ships you have on the line. The turn sequence consists of 5 phases, with the first being the removal of any refused battle cards that you played during the previous turn. Next, an additional +1 damage is added for each fire card on your ships. Now you draw action cards equal to your hand capacity. If you have no ships in your line, you draw a single action card. If you draw any red action cards, you must choose one and play it for the round as your only action for the turn. If the red card states that it affects another player, you pass it to the player who receives it to play if it's their turn. If they cannot play it, the card passes to the next player and so forth until it gets back to the original player, who may discard it for their only action of their turn. Finally, you may now play or discard a single action card, assuming you didn't play or pass a red action card. Rake and boarding party cards may be played in multiples. It is the action cards which provide the color and choices for the game. They consist of red action cards that must be played or passed to another player immediately. Such cards include Admiralty's Orders, Fire, Run Aground, Strike, and the Weather Gauge, which breaks up certain black action cards. The black action cards offer a myriad of options for offensive actions, such as broadsides, rake, boarding party, and break the line, which greatly augments your attack. To defensive actions such as repair, bucket brigade, and refuse battle. Special cards include additional ship, blockade, and the fire ship, which can target any ship at sea or all the ships in a port. At the end of the round, you add up the 3 methods of scoring for the game. Starting with anyone who has no line ships at the end of the round, they lose 15 victory points. Any ships that you sank are kept in a secret face-down pile with their victory points equaling their hull plus their rigging factor. However, if the ship was sunk by running aground or a fire explosion, they have no victory point value. Finally, any ships that you capture that have been withdrawn to port immediately will earn double victory points. But if the ships remain at sea at the end of the round, they are worth their undamaged hull and rigging factors. Enemy in Sight offers light play for groups of up to 8 players, where you can take to the high seas in search of fortune and glory. Thank you for watching. Check out our other videos on the Seek Out and Play YouTube channel. Plus, you can keep up with the latest news by visiting our Facebook and Twitter pages. And if you want to support the channel, we have a link to our Patreon page below. And I will see you next Wednesday.